including being overweight. So, scientifically, you cannot drink alkaline water and it makes your cells alkalytic. The closer you are to nature, the healthier you'll be.
Happy Saturday, everyone. I am Carolyn, and you are in the Mind of Nature, hosted by Dr. Zarif, the nutritionist. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Yes, happy Saturday, everyone. We are live streaming on Facebook, we are on YouTube, and also on Instagram. We have a few subjects lined up, so let's get started. We are talking about ingredient breakdown and food engineering, okay? Also, ultra processed foods. What does that really mean when you're talking about ultra processed foods? Also, health impact, short term versus long term. Also, better than meat, but better than what? We are going to break down, or Dr. Zarif, with my assistance, is going to break down the difference between Impossible and Beyond. Now, we do have other meats, of course, but these are two of the popular ones. So he's definitely going to be breaking that down. We're going to talk all about it. So Dr. Zarif, go ahead and join me here on stage so we can get started. Hello to you, Grand Rising.
Hello to you, and thank you, Grand Rising, all kings and queens, all princesses and princes. We really want to get into this subject today, so I'm going to start all the way. I'm going to start right away, but I just want you to know, look, take some notes down. Before I go into it, I think that it merits this situation, or this particular topic really merits the accomplishments that we've had thus far. Now, some people are all the way to this point. Some people are not even as close to the transition as they want to be, because they're still caught up in the old habits, or the habits of old. So what I would like for you to do is really pay attention, because this is much of what you'll see in the future, these ultra processed foods. And it's not going backward. It's really convincing you that you're worth having the food that is natural and that has nutrients in it, because we're eating foods now that lack nutrients. And by lacking nutrients, when you eat this food, of course, that is called malnutrition. Malnutrition can be life threatening. So you can take it the way that you want to, but the way that I'm going to deliver it today will be as plain as the nose on your face, as they say. Okay? So let's go ahead and get right into it. I'll start off with things like, first of all, we want to know what the heck are we talking about when we say impossible versus the Beyond Meat. Okay? I am hesitant about going right into it, because I just wanted to have some real conversation. I want to reiterate, if it hasn't been said already, make some comments. Talk about where you are. If you've tasted these before and you started using these products, let us hear about what you're thinking about it. Now, you don't have to be a vegan to use these particular products, because these products are some of the products that are pretty, they're common now. A lot of people use them. A lot of people that are not vegetarians, they're not vegans, they're not whole food plant based, they're not circadian or rhythm diet lifestyles. They are just people that like food, and if it's edible, they're going to eat it.
Right.
So
And if it mocks and it comes close to what they're used to eating too, that's
yeah,
good too, because it lines up, I think.
yeah. It also, the thing that's a very good point, that people are, for instance, like, they'll have something that is close, like you were saying, Carolyn, about the the food, if they can eat something that tastes like a burger,
Mm-hmm.
looks like a burger, smells like a burger, and it feels like a burger, they're like, hey, this is a burger. They don't know the difference between. It's like, I'm going for it. But then that's an upside because you say, hey, look, low in cholesterol. This might be a product that has even fiber in it. Meat products that don't have any fiber. So there's the other things, but there's downsides. And I suggest to everyone, if you're going to keep on eating, which you will if you're going to live, find out what's going in your body and what's making a difference in the things that you are eating, making difference like as far as the energy is concerned. Because when you're hungry, your body is telling you that you want energy. When you are starving, your body is wanting to live. Period. Two
Right.
big different things. Today we're just talking about hungry. We're lucky to be even talking about I'm hungry. Because when you say that, you're saying that I know it's something to eat. Let me see. Should I have Mexican, Chinese? What do I want? This is a person that has a palate, and they have also choices to eat. We have choices. We're lucky.
Right.
But when it comes down to those people that are starving, the stuff that we're talking about right now would be simply be malarkey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Right.
so yeah, I do my best, to say it in ways, but you get it. Um, all right, so let's go ahead, everybody, and let's dive into this.
Okay.
Carolyn, have you ever had any experience with the Beyond Burgers and the Impossible Burgers? And tell me a little bit about that.
I have, and I enjoy it actually. I think when I first, and this is funny, I always start my sentence off with this, but when I first switched over to plant based, it's one of those things where you want to find things, or you would like to have things that you are used to. You're used to, but you're still on that new journey. You're still taking the steps to make sure that you're still on that new journey. So that to me came in handy when and still does when I feel like having a burger. It's not something that I think that people should so much look at as a bad thing. I think if you've taken those steps to stay on the journey that you decided to stay on, you are going to find things to substitute those things, and that's what I have done, and I enjoy it. So that's yeah.
Okay,
I
well, you might be in for a surprise.
have,
We're gonna go over some things that are it's critical for you to know these things. Let's say hello to people that are on now.
yes, absolutely. Hello, hello, Shirley Gentle. Good morning to you, Shirley. I just did a.
Let's look at a nurse Shirley's comment. That's
Yes.
interesting.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Good morning to you, Dr. James. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Let me see. Shirley Gentle says, my hubby is a vegan and won't try any of the artificial products like Beyond Meat. He feels like it's too many chemicals. Yeah.
Okay, good. I know. Oh, Dr. James is online. I know he would tear this one up because
Uh-huh.
he's
Yes.
vegan also, and that
Uh,
is beautiful. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Dr. James says here, are the downsides of these plant-based burgers worse than the upsides?
All right. Yeah, let's look at that. We're gonna talk about that. Um, and let's say hello to everybody on Instagram here. Those people, we're just gonna say Grand Rising. And
Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan Bakley. How are
hey, Jonathan, thank you for
you?
being here.
Blakely. Blakely, he said, good morning, doctor. Follow me from the Caribbean today. Thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Hey,
Oh,
Darcel. Good morning, and happy Saturday to you. Appreciate everyone being in here. Thank you guys so much for the comments. Again, we are live streaming on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and on Instagram. I know we are getting ready for it. Oh, there it is right there. I'm looking at different screens. Go ahead, Dr. Zarif, you got it.
I want to make this a real powerful presentation, so please take notes. That's a great question that's asked by Dr. James. Are these are the downsides of these plant-based burgers worse than the upside? And you see, he's right on it because the both of them you'll find out. Well, let's see. Let's just take it step by step. I'm so excited. I would probably skip a lot of this, but I really want to understand the basics of it. So, in introducing this to those of you that for the first time you even heard of this, let's talk about something, the ingredient breakdown for these particular the Impossible versus the Beyond Meat. When we talk about the ingredients, well, let's break it down. And while breaking it down, we're going to have to also talk about the food engineering. So, what is inside of the Impossible or the Beyond Meat? Also, the role of the protein isolates, the oils, the additives, the lab created ingredients, all of that. That's by the way, that's how we get the taste, the way that this burger tastes from Impossible and Beyond. It comes from heme, and we'll talk about that too. Another thing to keep in mind is we keep using this phrase ultra processed foods. And what does that really mean? The definition of the ultra processed foods, I'm going to go over with you the NOVA classification. And this will be something new for your ears because you hardly hear about it, but we bring it to you right here on the Mind of Nature. Now, why also the products fall into these particular categories, and the difference between whole plant foods and engineered foods. There's two different things. Engineered food is what most people are eating today, and now the whole plant foods are something that we're turning on more people to the engineered foods versus the whole foods in our sense, and or maybe. Okay, and then we have the health impact. Now, a lot of people probably at this point say, man, I'm just going to eat some burgers. I don't, what's the deal? Burgers are definitely in the class of not all by themselves, but it's in that class where you're eating meat from an animal, and they are, as far as CDC is concerned, these are potentially cancerous items or foods that are threatening to our very life itself. Also, we'll talk about the difference between whole plant foods and those other ways of eating, the eating lifestyles. How about the health impact? What does it do long term and short term? Now, the effects on the inflammation, the gut health, and the metabolism. Now, when we was talking to Nurse Shirley, she said her husband doesn't Eric, he doesn't like he's vegan, and he doesn't want to eat any of these other little foods that are potentially dangerous. And he has a really good point because these foods are engineered, and the thought is that they're better than meat, but better than what? Because what is the meat made out of? So we'll talk a little bit about that, comparing the plant-based meats versus the animal meats. So it'd be whole foods. It's going to be some things are interchangeable, but we'll be talking about the whole plant foods versus the animal meats. Okay. Now, when these products actually make sense, and to me, the only time that they do make sense is when you're in transition. Suppose you're a person that you've just been eating meat on and on and on, but you just simply you simply want to change, but you still want the meat. And after you've been programmed all of those years, it's not as easy as you think to just jumping off of the meat. And then think about the food that you're eating. If it is life threatening, if it is illness threatening, if you're threatened with illness, should you put that in your body? I think not. But some people do it because many people take their lives for granted, and people don't take into account how this is going to affect them and along with everybody else that they're connected with in life. So it's a bigger picture than people just saying, "This is my body. This belong. Nobody can tell me what to do with my body." All of that noise. The thing that is important is that we are responsible in what we eat, especially if we're setting examples for our children, for our grandchildren, for our generations to come. And all that stuff about kings and queens, like when I talk about it, I'm talking about the regality. I'm talking about the love. I'm talking about the leadership. That is something that I think that is very, very important, especially in the Black community. It's very important. Like right now, I'm just thinking about how many of us are in organizations that speak to the leadership in the Black community, that's talking about what do we do when or if it all the money stops rolling, or there's an emergency where there's a flood, or you have people breaking into homes, or you have little children that are afraid to go to school, all of that. What is the community doing? Instead of just having grown people talk about, yeah, that's a shame, a good conversation, another way to entertain ourselves, but it's not doing a blank thing about it. So let's put this together, not just to make it work for you, but to make it work for other people too. Now, what makes them ultra processed? What does it mean? Now, both products involve protein isolation, and protein isolation is opposite or different than whole foods. So it's protein isolation. You would think that they're breaking down a lot of carrots and maybe rice, black beans, maybe soy, all of that. You might think that that's what's going on, but it is a process in which is called protein isolation. Then there are industrial additives. These industrial additives is what helps the food or that product appear as meat, feel like meat, smell like meat. Then we have in the also the high heat. The high heat extrusion is really important here, because the high meat extrusion, high heat extrusion, pardon me, is when you have the fire that's flaming. I mean, it's hot. We've talked about that before. When you get a pizza, you're talking about 850 degrees Fahrenheit in that oven, whereas at home, it's about half of that. And it's really very healthy, is healthier than having this food that you start to produce acrylamide, such as the deep fried chicken and the deep fried whatever. They deep fry every damn thing. But the thing that it is, what's really important is that you don't allow yourself to stay caught up in that habit, because it's not until you go into one of those emergency rooms where there's an overflow, people sitting on top of people, there's shortage of doctors, or you get caught up in a system that you can't afford, that you go in, you get help, and then later on you get hit with $5,000 bills. It's really these bills are, of course, sometimes it's like, where am I going to get the money from? So the debt and on and on. You get the idea. So this is very, very important. Let's go ahead and remember, leave your messages. I want to hear from you too. Don't be quiet. Your quietness does not help at all. It doesn't help at all. So we really want you to speak up and speak out. Now, what's actually inside of the Impossible burgers? What's actually inside of the Beyond Meat, and why both are typically classified as ultra processed foods? Number one is the core ingredients differences between Impossible and Beyond. Some of the just make this real simple. The Impossible equals the soy plus the lab engineered heme, and this makes it the soy with the lab engineered heme. It makes that particular ingredient or the way that it acts on the soy to make it taste meatier. That's the meat taste. And then Beyond, instead of using soy, Beyond uses pea protein plus the plant colorings, simpler concept, and it's a simpler concept, and it doesn't have any heme. So that may be some advantage to you right there. Nevertheless, let's keep going. And let's look at the Impossible Burger, some of the typical ingredients. The protein, let's start off with, again, the soy protein concentrate. This is an Impossible Burger. Along with some of the fats, they use coconut oil and sunflower oil. Now, the key meat-like ingredient is actually soy leg hemoglobin. And soy leg hemoglobin is the scientific name for heme, and is made using genetically engineered yeast fermentation. Then there are binders and texture. Now, the methyl cellulose, and along with starches, this is part of is kind of another part of the binders, or the what holds the shape of the burger, also the texture of the burger. And then flavoring. Some are natural flavors because the manufacturers know that we like our salt and pepper, and maybe a few other things there that they'll include there. But they also use for flavoring yeast extracts. Now, added nutrients. This is how it's fortified: iron, vitamin B12, the vitamin D2, cyanocobalamin, along with zinc. These are things that people don't even know what the hell it is. It's just like, oh, I heard that when you eat this, it does that. They're nutrients. Yeah, they're nutrients. But see, what we need to know, and if you follow the mind of nature and you start getting here and getting this information that will help you make better decisions, you'll have a better idea of what role iron plays, what role does cyanocobalamin play, and what zinc plays. But let me say this very clearly: they don't work well by themselves. They need to be accompanied and augmented by other nutrients. We can get to that later, but for now, just know there is no panacea of something you can just pop in your mouth and everything goes away. The next thing I want to share with you is now, we just talked about Impossible Burger, right? Keep that in mind. That's the soy protein and the coconut oil, along with the sunflower oil, and then the meat-like ingredient, which again is the soy leg hemoglobin, and then the soy leg hemoglobin is the same thing as heme. So again, and we're talking about flavor. Right, so let's go on now to Beyond Burger. Here's the Beyond Burger. Here's some of the typical ingredients. Okay, so we're talking about protein. When it comes to protein, Beyond Burger uses pea powder instead of soy. Okay, for those people That's a big difference, especially there are people that may be allergic, or there may be people that have been told that this will increase your risk of breast cancer and other cancers. Well, here's an option. The fats instead of coconut oil. Well, no, they use coconut oil also, but they what's different here, instead of the coconut oil sunflower with sunflower oil, this is coconut oil and canola oil. So they have a different product there that they use in their ingredients. The coloring comes from beet juice extract. That's so that it'll look like it's bleeding. So when you cook it, the beet juice extract comes up in the burger, just like you see the blood when you're cooking those steaks and other foods like that. So the cellulose and starches, they're binders, as we were talking about earlier. They give it shape, give it form, and they give you some something to feel. It's just like some girth. And that's very important, because you want to feel like you're biting into some big juicy burger. Now, flavoring, the natural flavors, apple extract and yeast extract. These are just some of the things that are in now. So far, you say, wait a minute, coconut oil, canola oil, beet juice, you got your flavors, your apple extract, all of that, the emulsifiers like sunflower lecithin, all of these focuses on the non-soy, non-GMO plant proteins. And it sounds good so far, right? But why are both considered ultra processed foods? Now, according to the NOVA classification, the ultra processed foods are industrial formulations with additives, extracted ingredients, and multiple processing steps designed for taste, for texture, and for shelf life. Keep that in mind. You hear nothing about health yet, did you? No, you didn't. Okay. So what makes the impossible and the beyond, again, ultra processed? Number one, isolated protein powders, not whole foods, and they are soy protein isolate in the impossible, and the pea protein isolate in the beyond. So remember, keep those two things separate. In the isolated protein powders come from soy protein and pea protein. These are extracted and refined. That means that they take this stuff, it processes, takes all of the nutrients out of it. Yuck. So far, you still excited about eating this crap? These are extracted and refined, and they're not whole beans, or they're not whole peas. So these are, as you see in a minute, just mostly ingredients for this experiment, I would like to call it. So we talked about earlier NOVA food groups, and it's like, what in the heck is that? Well, they're divided up in four NOVA food groups. One group is the unprocessed, or the minimally processed foods. This is probably the safest of the NOVA groups here. Natural foods, or the foods that altered slightly without adding substances. So, hang in there, because I know we're used to moving real fast when we get on these different classes or seminars or meetings. But I really want you to pay attention to it, because if not, you'll start eating this stuff on a daily basis, and you will be malnourished, and you will definitely cause a interruption of your stabilized digestion and their bowel movement and other problems that come from negating these types of situations. To continue, again, remember we're talking about unprocessed and minimally processed foods right now in Nova Group 1. Natural foods, or the foods altered slightly without adding substances. Some of the examples would be fruit and vegetables, beans and lentils, whole grains like brown rice and oats. You have the nuts and seeds, and then you have your fresh water and plain milk. All of this is very important. Processing methods allow washing, drying, freezing, grinding, pasteurization, and these are the foundation for a healthy diet. Okay, so that's group 1. We go over here to, let me see, the next group over here. I think okay, let me just go ahead and put this together. Okay, next let's talk about processed foods. So the processed foods are made by adding salt, sugar, or oil. What is that? Remember, this is SSO, but SOS. So the stuff that SOS, the foods that are made by adding the salt, foods that are made by adding. That's a big word there. Adding. That's that adjective. That's a very important word, because there are foods that already have salt in them naturally, foods that already have natural sugar in it, and there are foods that have natural oil in it. But I am reading the ingredient process here, and it tells us that the foods are made by adding the salt, the sugar, the oil to the group 1 foods. And that's what I just went over with you, the vegetables and the fruit and the grains, so forth. Okay, so keep that in mind. Some of the examples of these foods that are made by adding the salt, the oil, and the sugar, the SOS, is the canned vegetables, are the canned vegetables, fresh bread with simple ingredients, not the ones with 3 paragraphs, and then the cheese and pickled foods. These are relatively simple and closer to real foods. Okay, now we get to the next level here, and we're talking about the ultra processed foods, or the UPFs. And the industrial formulations are made mostly from substances extracted from foods plus additives. And the examples are Impossible Meat and Beyond Meat. So did you get that? They're industrial formulations made mostly from substances extracted from foods plus additives. So that's what you're eating. And that includes the Impossible Meat, Beyond Meat, soda, package, snacks. A shout out to Dr. Diva D, because she talks about the being addicted to the Verner's ginger ale, and the plant is right there in Detroit, and how she has the incredible or uncontrollable urges to have her soda, and she's doing a lot better with it. It's one of those things that is like a low grade addiction. So these things that we're talking about are things that can really help you get on the right road. Okay, so the industrial formulations that are made mostly from the substances extracted by foods plus the additives. I give you some examples, like the instant noodles, the sugary cereals, fast food, all of these things. The noodles in the pack, or you add hot water to it, you know the one I'm talking about. Now, other characteristics contain the additives, and we're getting ready to take a break right now, so bear with me. Give me a few more seconds here. The characteristics is they contain additives, flavor enhancers, emulsifiers, and preservatives. All of that are some of the characteristics of the ultra processed foods, and designed for convenience is definitely one of the purposes is designed for convenience and hyperpalatability. Hyperpalatability means that you can't eat one. I bet you can't eat one. Remember that commercial? So this is just a pretty phrase for it. But nevertheless, that's what these foods are. Not health, but convenience and hyperpalatability. Now, often low in fiber or none at all, and high in refined ingredients. Now, these are the most concerning, especially for your long-term health. Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a second so we can take a breather, see if there's any questions thus far. We're doing excellent. We're in the mind of nature. Care?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Zarif. No questions, just the comments from earlier with Dr. James and then from Shirley as well. Um, I see Denise Kane here checking in. Thank you so much. Good morning, and good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Yolanda Rogers, good morning to you. How are you? Dearborn, Michigan, what up, though? Hey to you. But you know what, Dr. Zarif, you mentioned a few things that I think, when you start to look at or talk about the different ingredients and things like that, I'm happy that you are breaking down, all of this because, you know, um, it's kind of hurting my heart a little bit. But I mean, it's things that we got to know when it comes to the ingredients and the things that we're eating.
Yeah, I mean, the things that if you just started and I know what you're feeling, I've eaten the impossible before myself to, taste it and yummy. This tastes great. I remember the very first day when I said, wow, this is great. And the packaging, when you read the packaging, much of what's happening in that burger isn't happening on your label. They're saying what they want you to understand about the burger, not the things that will keep you from buying it. Of course, it's a business, and we keep talking about that over and over. This is a business, and this is why most people they will be sure to say things like, "Ooh, this what it said on the label," but the label doesn't break it down to the point that you trust everything that label says.
Hmm.
You see, it's a lot of stuff is political, a lot of stuff is misinformation, and some disinformation. And these people will ride this stuff out until they're busted, and then by the time they're busted, that's $5 billion later, and they're like, oh, is that right? Oh, yeah, we're gonna. You have to pay $12 million to keep up your business, and you have to stop doing this or whatever. They already prepare for that stuff. You see, so it's like really getting this down, getting these kinds of things in your mind so that you'll understand exactly what is going on when you purchase these particular foods.
Okay. There is a question here from Dr. James. Says, is the salt in these plant-based burgers of concern?
The salt.
The salt, yes.
Oh yes, definitely. They're definitely of concern. Thank you, Dr. James, because the sodium is high as hell. What's the thing about it is that that's probably another preservative that's used in this formula to give it longer shelf life
Hmm.
and to also maintain the feeling of it and the appearance of it.
Hmm.
So sodium is where wherever we have excess sodium in the body is going to attract what into the blood? It's going
Water.
to attract more water,
Right.
and that more water is going to cause what? High blood pressure. And if you get high blood pressure, what is that going to cause? That's going to cause kidney problems because your kidneys have to work overtime now that you're eating. It's starting all the way back from the ingredients, adding that salt
Hmm.
to the burger. So
So,
yes, the question is yes, there is definitely danger when it comes to eating these burgers because they understand that most people that eat burgers, they're also eating excess salt. they're eating excess sugar, and they're eating excess oils. And sometimes, in most cases, they're eating oils that are cooked at too high of a temperature.
Okay. And second part to that, or the question is there less salt in the plant-based burgers versus the animal-based burgers?
Well, let's look at that period. It's like they have the first of all, it depends on that the cow as far as how what kind of diet that cow is on, which is junk. But you have more from. I haven't done the calculation, but uh, I would say that the burger has more salt. The one that is added to the burger has more salt than the meat itself.
Hmm.
So when people think that, oh, well, at least I ain't eating meat, well, if you listen to these ingredients, it'll give you another comment, I believe, and that comment is like, this is neither one of these are good for me. So don't just because it's a plant-based burger. Plant-based is a trending phrase today, which will be old tomorrow. But it's really to pay attention, and these intelligent questions are perfect so that you can take on the information forward and make other choices. Do not when you add sugar to some food, that is one of the no-nos. You don't When you add, you have to add sugar. When you add salt, when you add more oil to it, these we're talking about infinitesimal amounts of foods, infinitesimal amount. Look how many people, for instance, have joined us this morning. And the reason that is so, because we're not talking about, if I was talking about eating something, but we're talking about not eating something. And if you talk about not eating it, it's like, oh man, I am offending so many people when I say that. It's like, what? No, I'm eating my meat. Ain't nobody stopping me from eating my meat. Like, ain't nobody stopping you from dying either, but we don't want you to. But, some people, they're just really stuck on eating these foods that are refined and ultra processed.
Yes.
All right, great. Great feedback there.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead, and since let me go over here to Instagram and see if we have any. Okay, good. That means we must be doing a good job. This is such a very challenging situation when you're really reaching out to people and talking about some of the things that they can do to better their health. But those of you that get a little antsy or you get impatient, just hang in there together, because between myself, Carolyn, Dr. James, and some other wonderful doctors that we'll have on the show speaking about all of these things, it's like, how do people think that they can be a nation or have any strength if we're still doing the same thing that we were doing in the past? I hear people that don't want to stop the eating the ribs and the hog maws and the chitlins and all of that. They think that they're actually blacker because they're eating black. That's not eating black. That's eating backwards. Stop eating those kinds of foods because they'll definitely break down your body, and it's just the same as many people that have come onto the show have made comments about those better ways for them to eat and how better they felt, more energy. You've never seen me come on the show and I'm dragging, and that's because, again, choosing the foods that you love to eat, but within the category of being healthy. Okay?
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead. Let's get into. We just went over Nova, so some of the Nova food groups, and we went over unprocessed and processed, and We also talked about the ultra processed foods along with those characteristics. And now, why does Nova matter? Well, unlike the traditional nutrition labels, Nova helps to explain, and that's some of the you will see these words coming up on phrases as nutrition science continues to develop and evolve. The reason that Nova matters because it deals with how food is made and how it affects the body over time, and why two foods are similar in calories can have very different health impacts. You can eat like 120 calories, but it's all Twinkies, versus a person that's eating the same amount in broccoli. So that whole boy. If we go back and start talking about caloric intake, that was definitely they that made billions off of that change of belief, and that was all that was a belief system. So now a simple way to remember what we just went over. In group one, and again, remember I'm talking about the Nova groups now, the Nova food groups. Group number one, remember that real food is that's the group with real food. Group number two, cooking ingredients. Group number three, modified real food. And then group number four, industrial food. Most of us that do not cook ourselves, we're eating industrial foods. And the food that you do buy, the food that you do have in your kitchen and the foods that you prepare are most likely industrial foods. Now, I know you've been seeing a lot of information about how plastic is now affecting our food. Perhaps Dr. James and I will be talking about that more, so we'll have a better understanding of how do we get our ecosystem so far off balance that we have rice in the rain. We have plastic in the rain. We have also plastic in the rice. And that is something that you want to really think about, because when you take that in and then you get something that is irreversible, people with things like GERD, and this is gastroesophageal reflux disorder, when you have the kind of problems with even when it comes down to a stomach ache, and we start talking about colitis, and we start talking about irritable bowel syndrome, and all of those things, you'll find, wow, all of that stuff is connected. All right. I didn't go over group two. Now I want to make sure I go over group two in the Nova, and that is the processed culinary ingredients. Now, those are substances that are extracted whole foods, and they're used in cooking. So a lot of things that we see, again, like the olive oil, the coconut oil, the sugar, the salt, all of these are used to prepare and season those vegetables and grains and fruit, so on. Okay. The actual classification also is a scientific system that characterizes or categorize the foods that are based on the degree and the purpose of processing, not just for nutrients. Remember that. I keep saying it's not just for nutrients. It's all about the degree and the purpose of processing, like fats or calories. Now, it was developed by researchers at the University of Sao Paulo, and it's widely used in the nutrition science and the public health right now because people are turned on to it. They like it. And every time you buy something from the grocery store, guess what? You're making a vote. That vote is, I like that. And when you buy chips, that's a vote. When you buy Fritos or Cheetos or whatever, all of those things, that's when you buy the same thing. If you buy the red, maybe it's red peppers, and everybody likes the red peppers. Good, good. Like, this is really good. It's good to eat. And then it sells out. Well, that lets the buyers know that they need more because people are buying those things. So every time you buy junk, that's why you'll have in all supermarkets and all the health food stores, that snack area is full because a lot of people do depend on those things. Okay. All right. I'm going to see that we're getting closer to time here. I'm going to share a few more things here. One of things that's very important is the way that we actually think about our food. And a lot of that's going to change because we're going to start talking about the categories, the base, the processing, the ingredients, and the goal. Right now, we're not ready for that. This is something that is evolving. And there's some other exercises that I also am going to introduce to everybody so that you can start managing your eating better. Because at the end of the day, both are these is the Beyond Meat and the Impossible Meat. They both use isolated ingredients. They contain additives and emulsifiers, and they are industrially engineered for taste and texture. The Impossible, keep in mind, you can separate the two, that Impossible is more high tech. That's the heme, the GMO yeast, and then you have the Beyond Burgers are slightly simpler, but still highly processed. So don't get caught just because they have beet juice in it. It's not the beet juice that you're thinking about, and I'm sure that it's some kind of the beet juice that is made particular for this ingredient that is in the ingredients, and that it works for that particular appearance, the aesthetic. Now, is I guess when it comes to thinking about a question of better than, if it's better than the processed meat in some context, and I would say yes, it is better than meats in some context, especially if you're making a transition from meat to eating plant-based foods. But I would say also this is just for the transition, not for daily use. It is not a substitute for whole plant foods like your beans and your lentils and your vegetables. They're best used occasionally and not as a daily staple. And keep that in mind, because they're like no genetically engineered heme. This is just the Impossible uses the leg hemoglobin, and this is made through the process of genetically engineered yeast. And this is stuff like in a factory. And if we saw how this stuff was prepared, I think you would be, I'm not a gambling man, I take risks, but as far as I wouldn't put anything on the table about, I bet you would, if you saw how this stuff was made, you would find that you wouldn't be so excited about it. This ingredient is relatively new in the food supply, while approved as safe, and it has been approved as being safe by the different organizations that police food. It doesn't have long-term human data as yet. That's what it's only time. I mean, just like some of the GLP-1s antagonists, that it's not is still yet to be seen what is going to happen with some of the things that are discovered now. A lot of people like what they see, and if you live long enough, you'll know it's too early to call it what it is yet. We got to find out how it actually what kind of results it's going to have. Okay, okay. So that's oh man, it's so much more in this presentation. There's many hours left on it. Keep in mind that some of the biggest gut concerns that I'm concerned with is that when you eat this stuff, and Dr. James brought some good things about salt, the SOS. That's which is very important to keep in mind. Some of the biggest gut concerns, along with that, would be the methylcellulose, and the lack of natural fiber. We definitely don't need things with the lack of fiber. We're already dealing with some terrible situations now as far as fiber is concerned, because about 9 out of every 10 people are having different digestive disorders. So we want to be aware of that. And then the other thing is the impossible only still is emerging, so it's still developing. So heme is being used as a flavor, and it's very very popular. So for occasional use, like likely is going to be fine for anybody. Just every once in a while or emergency. That's acceptable. But people that are eating, these burgers every day is not a good thing. Daily use may contribute to inflammation and microbiome imbalance over time. So keep those things in mind as you move forward. I have sources for you if you need these sources on the emulsifiers and additives and all of that. But for right now, keep in mind all of these things that we talked about, because they will really help you to. You don't have to know what a protein isolate is, but know that when you read soy protein isolate or pea protein isolate, those are some of the ingredients that are used in products like these. And from these types of products, the different cheeses and all that stuff, those vegan cheeses, all of that stuff is made. It tastes good. It acts like cheese and all of that, but it is not. These are not good products for you. They cause all kinds of gut and inflammation impact. Again, they're low in fiber. They're rapid digestion. It can spike your insulin signaling. It lacks the polyphenols and the phytochemicals found in the whole legumes. So all of this means this. Now say this. Now I'll go. Is if you compare whole beans and lentils to some of the stuff that you get in these burgers, or I should say some stuff you're not getting in these burgers, you'll have a better idea of why it is not healthy for you. Okay, I'm going to go back up to the studio, and I really appreciate you being here today. Carolyn?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Zarif. Thank you so much for the breakdown on all the things Dr. James mentioned. I'm looking forward to joining you on that topic in regards to microplastics. So that'll be a good one. You guys team up and tackle it. Also, he says probably a topic for another day. But what are your thoughts about engineered meat? Meaning like meat genetically engineered in the lab.
Oh, I definitely think that, when you have the engineering, the engineering itself is what we've been talking about as far as the how this food is made. You know, with some of the simplifying of the formulations. For instance, the Beyond still has additives that they put back into these ingredients, and they also have a part of the engineering is the adding of heme or not adding, and you know the biotechnology
You said
that goes
it muffled a bit. You said the adding of what?
the adding of the heme.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some is that there's no heme biotechnology in some of the use of the formulation, but they use fewer and fewer novel ingredients, but they're still ultra processed, just less experimental. The other thing about some of the stuff that is used as far as the genetically engineered food is that no genetically engineered heme and that is, I guess, there's a couple of things because you don't they both of these people, these businesses, especially today, they could be the same businesses. I don't I have very little trust in these folks these days, and when I say these folks, I'm talking about politics. It can be very, very helpful, and I'm down with those people that really stick their necks out to help us with our our rights, our birthrights and all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, ooh, we got a long way to go. But anyway, no genetically engineered heme. Impossible uses the soy-leg hemoglobin, and this is made via the genetically engineered yeast. In other words, the genetically engineered foods are foods that may isolate certain, they might, during the genetically engineered, they might isolate certain products or certain substances in the food, but they're not plant-based. They don't get it from, like you can say, for instance, like mayo. Okay, when you make mayo, they use eggs and they use some dairy products, and then they whip it up real good.
With the oil,
And pardon me.
with the oil.
Yeah, and the oil, all the things, the sugar, all of that stuff, and the salt. Because mayo has the SOS in it, for instance. But the the thing that it may get most of it, like for instance, some of the vegan eggs may be mostly soy, but the engineering is really interesting because uh, you don't need to have the soy in order for you to have a product. They can extrapolate more substances from other foods that again, like um, uh, the beyond ingredients, the impossible ingredients. Again, they're made with impossible. You'll find more genetic engineering there because they're more high tech. And remember, the high tech means the heme and the GMO yeast, whereas the beyond is still ultra processed. However, they're slightly simpler, but still highly processed. And remember, processed is more not processed, but it really should be used and refined, as far as I'm concerned, to really make it more accurate. So highly refined food, because refined food is when you take food and then you make it into something. It looks like something else. It sounds like something else. It smells like something else. It acts like something else. Okay, so yeah, we got a lot of work to do, and there are a lot of other tools that they use now so that they can have the best product and that we can become their lifetime customers.
Yes, absolutely. We do have work to do. That's why we are here, Mind of Nature, and bringing in information every Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific time.
Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. Now, I know, like some of you that are just looking at this and it's been on, I want you to please go to YouTube and subscribe, leave a comment, and leave us a like. Really appreciate it because that's our payback to you. Really appreciate it. Thank you for getting up early and listening to the show. We thank all of you for participating, and we are looking forward to hearing more from you about the information that you heard today. Okay, get back in the kitchen. Get back in the kitchen. Have fun. There's a lot of food, a lot of experimentation that you're missing if you just go into that restaurant all the time. Restaurants, restaurants, restaurants. I get it. You want to feel like you're out. You want to feel like you're doing something new. But remember, don't let that out prioritize what's happening in your kitchen. It's nothing like being closer to nature. The closer you get to nature, the healthier you'll be. This has been Carolyn Zarif and Fareed Zarif, the nutritionist. Thank you, everybody.